Okay, I don't know if this battery is gonna last till I get to the house, but I'm gonna tell about the second half of the trip to New York. Okay, so go back to the hotel. We're chilling, and then the next day we go back over to Manhattan, and um, we try to do some more shopping. We went to go to Central Park. We walked around Central Park, took pictures. I think I might have a picture or two. If I do, then I'll put them as an overlay right here. Um, what else did we do? Then we went around to Times Square, and then that was it. And then we went back to the hotel room. Then I called one of my friends named Demetrius. No, not Demetrius, Demarius, and he lives in Atlanta, but he's in a house for for a ballroom house, and he has ballroom kin that lives in New York. I can't remember what the name of his house is anyway. I was like, well, can you call one of your people and ask them, what's the club in New York, because I can't find anything. Keep in mind, this was before Google told us everything that we needed to know. So, so Demarius called somebody. He calls me back. Well, I've got two clubs to choose from that are popping tonight. One is called the Brooklyn Cafe, and the other one is called the Playground. Well, I was like, well, tell me where the Brooklyn Cafe is, because a gay club called the Playground does not sound exciting for a 25-year-old gay man. So anyway, so he gives me the directions to that club. We get up, get dressed, take the train from Jersey, that hotel that's like right outside the train station, over to Jersey into Christopher Street. We thought it would be best to catch the train into Christopher Street because that's the gay area. It would be easier for us to get a cab from Greenwich Village, if I'm not mistaken, that's what that is, from the Village over to Brooklyn. Oh baby, it was not. Keep in mind this was before Uber. Child, it took us an hour to get a cab. It took us about an hour to get a cab to take us over to Brooklyn. We was this close to trying to walk over to Brooklyn. We didn't know anything about, all we knew is that everybody could walk in New York. We didn't know that. What we didn't know at the time was that the Brooklyn Bridge, it closed. You can't walk across the bridge at night. We didn't know this. So anyway, because every time we got into a cab, we was like, he's like, where do I take you? And we was like, the Brooklyn Cafe. And then we gave him the address, and he was like, no, I don't go, no go to Brooklyn after dark, get out. I was like, okay, but then this is the thing, when Demarius gave us the address to the Brooklyn Cafe, he was like, it's right there at the foot of the Brooklyn Bridge, so you don't have to go actually into Brooklyn. It's right there. Like, soon as you get to the end of the bridge, it's right there on the corner. And that's what we kept telling the cab people, and they was like, no, no, no. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, I ended up having to pay double fare. This is the second time I paid double fare, because keep in mind, when we left the airport and we had got gypped by the taxi that time, he told us that we had to pay the toll and a double fare. So now, to take us into Brooklyn, we had to pay double fare again. Okay, fine, because we're missing the club. Paid it. He took us, when I say right there, to the end of the bridge and dropped us the fuck off and spun around and went right back across the bridge. So we get into the club. We're going into the club. He freaks me, pat me down. Regular. Gets to my boyfriend, pats him down. It's all this extra. Hey, hey, hey. That's enough. He ain't got nothing on him. Come on. I'm just giving him just the full. No, sir. That's good enough. So we get inside. we get inside, and we're not really dancing. It's the vibe is. I don't want to say weird. It's not strange. I mean, it's a gay club. It's a bunch of gay men. The beat was cute. It just didn't feel like the gay clubs down south, I guess. So we went in and we sat down. I got a drink, and we sat down, danced for a little bit, And then I sat down, he got on the dance floor. And then we didn't even stay there that long because we was not really feeling it. It was not giving what we needed. And plus they didn't have no drag show. You know, down south we used to a drag show, honey. And it was not no drag show. It was just beats and boys. So then then we was in there for maybe like an hour, hour and a half, and then we were like, okay, we're gonna leave. So we walked. We got the directions to a train station because we already knew we was not gonna be able to get no cab. Did we get a cab or did we call? No, the next time we called a taxi. This time we walked to a train station somewhere in Brooklyn. I can't remember where. And we ended up having to stay in the station for like 2 hours waiting on the next train to take us into Manhattan and then catch the train from Manhattan into Jersey. So we were sitting in the train station waiting on the train and just looking at all these people come leaving the club. Baby, everybody was dressed up in their attire, looking amazing. We was looking like, two thugs anyway. So it was just really funny just to sit and just listen to everybody talk about, what happened at their club, that was going on or whatever, and how it's normal for them to have to sit there and wait for the train to take them. So, and I just thought that was so weird that like every time you want to go to the club on Saturday night, after the club closed, you have to come to the train. You have to sit in the train station for an hour and a half, 2 hours to wait on the train so you can go back home. Now, I think if I'm not mistaken, they were going to Staten Island. I was like, that's horrible. But it was like everything to them. So anyway, we get back to the hotel. Now, mind you, by the time we got back to the hotel, it was like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. And we had to leave to catch a flight the next day. Yes. Oh, baby. Okay, so we slept for a few hours. It was like 7. It was like 6. It was like 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, because we slept for like an hour, 2 hours. Got up, got dressed, and then because we had to leave out in time enough for checkout. So we woke up at like 9 something, and then we were getting dressed. We got our shit together. Now, mind you, there was a punk at the front counter of the hotel with a nasty, when I tell you a stanky attitude, that bitch was rude. We was leaving, and we checked out, and he was giving us, first when we checked in, he gave us a lot of fever because my aunt works at Marriott, and we were using her discount. We were using her employee discount, and my aunt had to get up, drive to the hotel. I think I told this on the last video, how she had to go to the hotel, her job, and get her manager on the phone to talk to the manager in Jersey at the hotel that we were at to verify that we could actually use the discount and all this. This is the same punk, okay? So we're checking out, and he's giving us teas about, payment and all this other kind of stuff. Payment was taken care of. Great. Okay, so we hop in a taxi, go to, what was the name? It's it's not JFK, it's the other, Newark. We went to Newark airport to fly out. Get there, and I had left my ID at the hotel. I didn't know this. We was in such a hurry to pack. Okay, so I'm going through my bag, and I'm searching. I literally unpacked my bag at the hotel and packed it. I was like, Darian, I left my driver's license at the hotel. So I called the hotel. The punk answers the phone. Hey, I think I left my driver's license in the room. Can you check, please? Hold on for a second. I radioed to the maid. She already cleaned the room. There's no driver's license in there. Are you sure? Because I don't have it in my bag. It's got to be in that room. I took it to the club with me, and I had it on me when I got back to the room. It's not in there. Well, can you actually go in there and check to make sure? Because the maid, sometimes they don't, just because they're cleaning it don't mean that they actually look. Okay, well, give me a minute and I'll call you. No, give me a minute and call back. Okay, hang up. Time for test the flight is coming up. Darian. Oh, shit. Oh, fuck. Damn it. Okay, I'll tell the rest when I get inside the house. Okay, in the house. So, okay, first let me back up a little bit. First, what day was it? I want to say the parade was on Thursday. So this had to be like Saturday morning when I woke up. I asked Darren, I was like, do you want breakfast? And he was like, okay. So I was looking for some place to eat breakfast. And there was a restaurant that's like the hotel is here, the train station's here, and then there's like a little side street, and then there's some shops and restaurants there. And so, but it's like a mom and pop restaurant. So I went over there and they did serve breakfast. I ordered the food and I paid for it with my credit card. Then keep in mind, this was my first. Was it my first credit card? I think so. I think it was. No, it wasn't. It was the first card that I had. I had an account with Washington Mutual Bank. Yes. And this was the first Texas account that I had. And with the debit card, when you make a purchase, it sends a notification to your phone. That was the first time that I got those. It was the first time I got notifications about my purchase. So I paid for the food and then the notification came through. But the notification was for more than what was on the receipt. But it was only more by it was like less than 50 cents. But I was like, it's wrong. So I took the food upstairs and me and Darren were eating and I was explaining to him, I was like, the amount that's on the receipt is different than the notification I got. And he was like, well, go back over there. So I went back over there and I argued with the people. I was like, no, you charged me the wrong amount. And she was like, no, we charged you whatever's on the receipt. But that's not what I see on my account. Look, and I'm showing them. I showed them my notification on my phone, and he was like, well, we don't know anything about that. What we know about is what's on this receipt. This is the only amount that we're going to take out. I said, you're lying. You stole from me. 50 cents, mind you. But I feel like, in my mind, I thought, this is how they get people. They charge everybody 25, 50 cents over. And then by the end of the day, if you've had 400 customers and you got your extra 50 cents over every customer, then that means that you was raking it the fuck in. So I see it just happened to be a police car parked in front of the restaurant on that little side street. So I went up to the police office. I was like, they took 50 extra cents off my credit card. And then he was like, well, you can go file a lawsuit in small claims court. And I just sat there and I looked at him. I was like, okay, thanks. And I was walking back to the hotel. I said, who the fuck gonna take a store to court over 50 extra cents? This is so dumb. I said, they got me. They got me. Damn, I felt so gypped. On top of the cab rides and all that shit in the club and everything. Now, mind you, what actually happened was when you pay for a meal at a restaurant that has tipping, not like a McDonald's, I mean like a Chili's or TGI Fridays, they leave when they take the money out of your card. There's like a variance in case you add in a tip so that they can adjust the amount that they actually take out. I didn't know that. And that's what that 50 cent was. And so the 50 cent actually came back. But the whole time that I had that card, I'd never went to a restaurant that that allow for tipping. So I didn't know that at the time. I figured this out like years later. So for years, I felt like the restaurant had gypped my ass, and I I think I adjusted the way I made payments after that because I didn't want nobody to get me like that again. So anyway, now back fast forward to my driver's license. Okay, so I'm standing there at the airport, and then it's time for the flight to leave, and they was like, this is the last call for the front gate to board the flight back to Dallas. And then Darian was like, well, I have to go home because I have class tomorrow. And I was like, okay, yeah, you go ahead and leave. At that time, I had already dropped out of school because I was making more money hustling than I was when I was in school and hustling. So he got on the flight and he left me in Jersey. I mean, at Newark Airport in New York. And I was just sitting there, and then I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do. I gave Darian my bag, and he checked my bag with his stuff, and he took my bag home. So I was just at the airport because if I had the bag, it would have been too much to be carrying around, and I felt like I was gonna have to spend a night outside or something. I didn't know for sure. So I called my dad. I was like, yo, I know my driver's license is at that hotel. And he was like, oh, well, hold on. You got a cousin in New York. I was like, really? It's on my mama's side. She's on my mom's side. He was like, yeah, let me call her, and then I'm going to call you back. Okay. So only thing I had on me was my wallet with no driver's license in it. I think I had my debit card, which I was damn near out of money. No, I was out of money because I could have bought up another hotel room, but I didn't. I spent all my money on all that extra shit. So, then I told my dad, I was like, well, also I don't have any money because I was supposed to get money once I got back home, and I'm not going home. So he was like, well, let me just call her. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wire you money. And I was like, but I don't have my driver's license, so I can't get the money out of Western Union. He was like, don't worry, I'll figure it out. So he called my cousin. Her nickname growing up was Niecy, my cousin Niecy, but her government name is Monica. So I didn't know that after she moved out of the project, she didn't go by Niecy anymore. So my dad called me back, and he was like, oh yeah, Niecy lives in Harlem. I was like, okay, cool. So I'm gonna call her, and then she's gonna come pick you up. I was like, okay. So I just waited at the airport. A couple hours go by, and then he's like, she's on her way there, and she's gonna give you a call. Okay. She calls me. Which hotel was it? And I told her. She went there. The punk with the attitude had my driver's license at the front counter the whole time. She said she just walked in and she was like, my cousin left his driver's license here. And he was like, oh yeah, it's right here. And he gave it to her. She came to the airport. She picked me up in her car. And then she pulled over to the side of the road to like a hotel parking lot or something. And it was like she gave me an interview before she took me to her house to make sure I'm not crazy or something. I don't know what the fuck that was. Anyway, so she's talking to me and she's like, tell me what happened with the driver's license. And I was like, oh, this guy at the front counter, he got an attitude and all this, that, and I'm telling her, la, 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 boo, to boo. She was like, did you offer to tip him from the airport? How am I going to do that? But I didn't say that to her. I was like, no. She's like, well, this is New York. You have to tip somebody if you want something. Okay. I didn't know this. She was like, oh, yeah, I just gave him a 20 and he gave me your driver's license. Oh, okay. Oh, yes, your father wired the money to me because you don't have your driver's license. And then so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold on to it for you. Here's your license. And then what I'll do is I'll use it for gas money, and then you can spend the night at my house, and you can pay for the change fee for your flight, and then you can fly out tomorrow. And then we'll get something to eat tonight, and whatever money is left over, I'll just wire that back to him myself. Okay. You have some initials tattooed on your arm. What are those? Where do they come from? Mind you, those are my boyfriend's initials. DKA, Darian Keon Abrams. This was before I got it covered up with the killer dolls from the Wiz. So I was like, and I couldn't tell her they were my boyfriend's initials because she's a Jehovah's Witness. And I feel like she probably would have told me, oh, bitch, you're sleeping outside. Not literally that, but I feel like that's probably what she would have ended up doing. So I was like, I cannot tell her that I have a boyfriend. So she's not going to go for this. So I had to crawl back into the closet. So I was like, oh, that means Dewan kicks ass. Dewan is my middle name. She's like, oh, are you sure? And she's touching it and everything. Are you sure that's what that means? I was like, yeah. She's like, okay. Who are you here with in New York? I was like, I was with my friend from college. But he had to go back because he has class tomorrow. I don't have class tomorrow. Oh. Okay. He didn't want to stay here with you? Well, no. She said, that's kind of odd that he left you here. Well, I mean, he had a class tomorrow. He can't miss class, you know. She's like, okay. So, well, let's go ahead and get you to the house and get everything taken care of. Oh, here's your license. Of course, then she hands me my license. And because I wanted to fly back that night. But she was like, no, you're going to spend the night and then you're going to go home tomorrow. Mind you, Darian took all my clothes with him back to Dallas. So I didn't have a change of clothes. It's New York in the summer. When I tell you I had a set of swamp nuts and I needed a fresh pair of drawers. So she's telling me I had to spend that. So I paid the change fee. And keep in mind, once she became a part of the equation in New York, for me, I had no control. I had relinquished all control of whatever was happening with me. Okay? I am, at that point, I think it was like 25, 26 years old. I think about 25. It was like I was a teenager all over again. And I was spending the summer with my older cousin or something. That's what that felt like. So we get in her car, and we're in her car, and she drives me to pick up her kids, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and she's telling me the stories about, everything. She at that time, it was after 9/11. She was telling me about 9/11, everything she went through. She was like, no. I was like, didn't you work in the Twin Towers? She said she did, but she worked in the Twin Towers like 2 or 3 years before the 9/11 happened. So she wasn't in there at the time. So remember when I told my story before about I had a cousin who worked in the Twin Towers. At that time, I found out she didn't work there when it happened. She worked there some years before. Then she was telling me about her kids, how no, she told me about 106 and Park is not at 106 and Park anymore. They moved it because so many black people kept going to the studio. She was like, it's not even there anymore. I mean, we'll ride past it, but there's nothing there. I was like, oh, okay. She's giving me the sightseeing tour. I didn't want to see none of this, honey. I wanted to go home where I can be gay again with my boyfriend. We pick up her kids and one of her kids is a rebel, and the other ones were sane. One, she's telling, and they're telling me stories about. He was like, "Oh yeah, I do this and I do that," and he's sitting on the back seat with me. So my assumption is she put him on the back seat so that because I seem rebel-ish, we're supposed to relate. No, I'm not. I'm not relating to him. He's cool. He's family. But this is a Jehovah's Witness vehicle. And I know y'all don't like to psychologically digest my type. So he's like, oh yeah, I got caught skipping school one day. I was in the Macy's in Times Square, and my mama saw me walking out the store. She's like, oh yeah, I catch him skipping school and all of this kind of stuff and la 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 whoop de whoop. And I was like, okay. And he's like, man, you know every song on the radio. The radio was playing. I was just singing along, honey, trying to block out everything. So we pick up her husband. Okay. Now keep in mind, I don't have any problem with them. It's just that I know that the Jehovah's Witness and they don't too much care for my kind. That's it. That's the only thing. So we pick up her husband. He is from Nigeria. To me, a black gay man, that's a double whammy. He's from Africa, and you know they don't play the fiddle with the fags in Africa. And then number two, he's a Jehovah's Witness. So I'm like, is there any way I can get away from here? So she picks up the money after she gets her husband. She goes in the store, she picks up the money, and then I'm going to hold on to this in my face. Yep, okay, that's fine. I said nothing. We went out to eat. And they took me to a Texas barbecue pit. And it was like, oh, how you like the food? I was like, the food is great. But I don't know if this is a complaint or not, but I live in Texas at the time. I didn't want to eat Texas barbecue if I'm in New York. But I didn't say nothing. Okay. After we eat, we go back to the house. And we're sitting at the house. Some hours pass, and I get hungry again. The barbecue, I mean, it was good. Don't get me wrong. We get back to the house. I was like, I need something else to eat. And she was like, oh, there's a Popeyes up the street. We at this point, we're in Harlem. She's like, but you can't walk up there by yourself. So she sends the rebel with me to go get the chicken. So we're at Popeyes. I get the chicken. I come back and I'm sitting on the stoop eating my chicken. I finished with a bone. And I just threw it. He was like, hey, what are you doing? I was like, it's just a bone. He was like, no, you can't do that. This is New York. Are you crazy? He was like, you have to go get that. I'm like, I was like, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't know. So I went and got the bone or whatever. I put it back in the box. I was eating in the house, but I was sitting at the table eating. And crumbs had fell on the table. And she kept pointing out the crumbs on the table. And I mean, the whole thing it was a bunch of microaggressions on top of the fact that she had made me regress psychologically in her presence. So I was like, well, this one I was like, let me go sit on the front stoop to eat. And so I was sitting on the front stoop. Then at night, I'm sitting in the living room watching TV with them. We were watching something on TV, I remember. And then the TV blanked out. I was like, oh, y'all didn't pay y'all cable bill? And they laughed. The kids laughed. They was like, no, we're only allowed to watch 1 hour of TV a day. I was like, oh, okay. So what do we do for the rest of the night? It's like nothing. Okay. So we just sat there. And then it was time to go to bed. I slept on the bottom bunk, and the rebel slept on the top bunk. And another microaggression. I had my phone on the charger, but I had the phone on the bed. She was like, you can't sleep with that on the bed. You need to put that on the floor. I was like, okay. Then they sent me into the bed. And then she sent me into the bathroom for the night. She was like, there's a spare toothbrush. There's a towel and a wash rag. But then I was like, if I take a shower, I'm going to have to put these same clothes back on. And that's like really nasty. I was like, I can just stay like this. This is what I'm thinking to myself. So I pretended to take a shower. And then I went and lay down in the bed with my clothes on. She didn't give me a change of clothes either. I had the same exact clothes on. So I went to bed. When I tell you, she got up at least about 5 or 6 times in the middle of the night to come check on me in that bedroom. I was so irritated. So then the next morning came, and then I was the first one up. And she came in the room. She was like, no, she didn't come in the room. I got up and I went downstairs. And I was waiting. I was like, hey, no, she had gone. And then she came back. And I was like, hey, is it time to go to the airport now? I can leave now. And she sat down. She was like, I've been out all morning. I'm too tired. I'm going to wait on, his name is Cliff. I just remember his name. His name is Cliff. She says, I'm going to wait on Cliff. But my flight leaves in like 3 hours. I should be there like 2 hours ahead. Well, I'm too tired. I've been out all day and it's so hot outside. So, okay. Can you give me directions on how to get on the train? Well, it's too complicated. Well, you should have X amount of dollars left over. Is that enough to get a cab to the airport? Oh yeah, it is. You can do that. Okay, I'm gonna get a taxi to take me to the airport. She's like, okay, that's fine. She gives me the exact amount, and she knew how much it cost to get to the airport from her house. She gave me the exact amount, and she said, and the rest of this, I'll just send it to your dad. Okay. I got in a taxi and flew home. Now, this is where I messed up. I called my dad and I was telling him about the trip. I was like, oh yeah, she did this and she did that and she did this and that. When you're telling somebody about microaggressions, it makes you sound like real bitchy. It does not reflect on the person's behavior. So as I'm telling my father the things that she did, quote unquote, it made me sound ungrateful and bitchy. And that's what I should not have done. But I got back home. Darian picked me up from the airport. I went back to the house. I was like, oh my gosh. And I was telling him about, the story about, everything that happened after he had got on the flight or whatever. He was like, well, I'm sorry I had to leave you. I was like, you didn't have to apologize. I understood. But anyway, that was my first trip to New York. I went 2 other times, and those other 2 times were adventures also. So that's another story for another time.